This is the PickBits Daily Signal for Sunday, July 19th, your signal in the day's tech noise. Here's the lineup. 1. The surveillance company we keep flagging just walked back one of its most aggressive features. 2. An AI coding agent got caught quietly copying your files, and the company's fix was to open the whole thing up. 3. The encryption fight we told you Canada promised to defuse in May just got a lot less diffused. And 4, on the brighter side, AI satellites just went up that can spot a wildfire the size of a classroom before it becomes a headline. Let's get into it. This is the PickBits Daily Signal. Story 1. Flock Safety is the surveillance company we've flagged more than once, most recently when LAPD walked away from its plate reader contract.
Flock is now the first to centralize it into a single nationwide database that thousands of police departments can access at any time without a warrant.
This week it walked back something else entirely. Flock had been quietly building an AI feature called distress detection onto its existing gunshot detection microphones, wired into hundreds of U.S. cities, that listened for human screaming and could route an armed police response to the sound. The Electronic Frontier Foundation caught the plan back in October 2025. When EFF started writing about it, the word screaming quietly disappeared from Flock's marketing, while the feature kept getting built under the vaguer label distress detection. This week, Flock ended the pilot outright, saying only it followed careful consideration and community consultation. The microphones themselves, though, aren't going anywhere. That same acoustic system, without the distress layer, is the technology that led Chicago police to fire at children lighting fireworks after mistaking the bangs for gunfire. The base system's error rate is a separate number, and nobody killed that this week. If your city runs Flock's gunshot sensors, this is the week to ask your police oversight board for the network's documented false positive rate, not just take the win on one pulled feature. Follow this one. EFF spent 18 months naming the exact failure mode before Flock moved, and that's what actually got it killed. Story 2. XAI's terminal coding agent, Grok Build, has a transparency problem.
Today's video is about how Grok Build was caught uploading your source code to a private Google Drive account owned by XAI, not the normal stuff you upload during the chat with the AI model, but separately loading up to a kind of a drive space up in the...
Unaffected user says it wasn't just source code that got swept up. SSH keys, password databases, documents, and photos went with it. With no consent screen warning, any of this was happening. XAI disabled the upload path on July 12th, and Elon Musk said the data already collected would be permanently deleted. But we deleted it isn't something you can independently verify. So, instead of a quiet patch, XAI published the entire Grok Build source, roughly 844,000 lines, on GitHub under a fully open license. The disabled upload code is still visible in that release, left in on purpose so anyone can check it's actually off now. Putting the code out there for anyone to check is worth something, even though it only happened after users caught it. The actual bug is simple. It grabbed files it was never asked to touch. If you've ever run the Grok command anywhere near SSH keys or a password vault, rotate those credentials this week regardless of the deletion claim. And if your team is evaluating any terminal AI agent, make does it run fully local, uploads opt-in only, an actual procurement question, not a line in the pitch deck, follow this one, because XAI still hasn't said how many users were exposed before the fix. Story 3. Back in May, we told you Canada's public safety minister promised to strip the encryption backdoor language out of Bill C-22 after Apple, Google, Signal, and Meta pushed back together. That promise didn't hold. The bill passed Canada's House of Commons last month with the concerning language still in it, and this week Senator Ron Wyden sent a letter to the acting Attorney General and the acting National Security Advisor warning it could reach past Canada's own borders. Because Canadian law can reach the Canadian subsidiaries of U.S. tech companies, Bill C-22 could legally compel a U.S. company to secretly build a backdoor into its own product, or hand a government-controlled decryption key to Canadian authorities without ever telling its American users. Wyden's letter calls out what he says is a glaring statutory vacuum. No U.S. law currently stops a company from quietly complying with that kind of foreign order. The precedent for this is already on the books.
Act. So this notice was sent to Apple What they wanted Apple to do was to create basically a backdoor, a way for the UK government to back channel through someone's device or their data.
Biden's ask from here is specific. Use the ongoing US-Canada Cloud Act negotiations to rule these mechanisms out before the bill clears Canada's Senate. Google's public line is that it has never built a backdoor, said about a bill that hasn't passed yet. If you use a US messaging or cloud product that also runs infrastructure in Canada, watch whether that company's transparency reporting goes quiet in the next few months. Follow the Cloud Act talks over the next few months. That's the room where this actually gets decided. Story 4, and this is the one I want to end on. 3 Firesat satellites launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base on July 7th, and their entire job is catching a wildfire while it's still small enough to stop.
By Google, the first Firesat satellite is now in orbit, using infrared sensors and AI to track wildfires in near real time. It can detect even the smallest flames before they spread, giving firefighters a crucial advantage.
Small enough in this case means 5 meters across, about the size of a classroom, and the sensors can see straight through smoke and cloud cover that blinds most of the wildfire monitoring satellites already up there. Moonspace built them, Google Research and a nonprofit called Earth Fire Alliance funded them. Together, the 3 give fire agencies at least 2 passes a day over every fire-prone region on the planet, and Earth Fire Alliance wants 50 plus of these flying by 2029. We flagged the ground version of this idea back on July 7th, when California's AI-watched camera network caught over half of last year's wildfires before anyone dialed 911. Now it's watching from orbit instead. Catch the ignition at schoolyard scale before it outruns what a fire crew can contain. Moonspace's own estimate puts the payoff at over $1 billion in avoided damage and about 3,500 homes protected every year once the full network is flying. None of that is live yet. This is 3 satellites of a 50-satellite plan. If you live somewhere fire-prone, ask your local fire agency whether it's signed up to receive Firesat's alerts once they go live. Share this with anyone you know who works in disaster response or climate tech, especially if they've only seen this kind of pitch as a slide deck before. Of the 4, that one from orbit is the one I'd bet on saving the most lives a year from now. That's the signal. I'll see you tomorrow.